Hello, welcome to Clarity Design. We're looking at Texoft 2D design tools, and in this tutorial we're just going to get you set up and ready to do a basic cut on a laser cutter. We're looking at the drawing part and the basic tools in here to help us get started. So the first thing to do is we're going to set up our page so it's the correct size for us, and in the particular task that I'm setting in my classroom, we want to set it to a fairly small size. So we're going to go to Setup, and Drawing and Layout, and inside there you want to change the standard size from A3 down to A5, so a nice small piece of paper. Okay, you can see that each of these dots, these are 10mm apart. To change that, we can double click here, and this will get us our dimensions, and we can change our grid spacing if we wish. This is important because we can use the grid to stick points to, and we'll switch on one of the guides and helps in a minute. Over here we've got all of our tools to help us deal with drawing and locating things and getting things on good angles, and playing around. So we've got step lock and grid lock. The easiest thing to do with each of these is to get some drawing and to start trying it out. So if I click on this attach, if I click here and here, I can then click again, and it's automatically, if it's inside the square, it will attach to the end, and if it's outside the square, it won't attach to the end. Okay, let's switch off that horrible noise. So we've got our drawing tools over on this side. We've got our selection tool, our circle or ellipse tool, and then straight lines, curves. Now the curve tool is quite interesting. The second click you make is the middle of the curve, not the end. Okay, so that would be the middle of the curve, and then this would be the end of the curve. Alright, so it's a little bit odd. You'd almost expect to go from the first to the end and then do the middle, but first, middle of the curve, end of the curve. Okay, and that's how you control that. Now we've drawn a whole heap of stuff here, and most of it's pretty rubbish, so we're going to use the selection tool, and we can pick up these items and we can start getting rid of them. The delete button works perfectly for this. So on the keyboard you hit the delete button and it gets rid of stuff, but you'll notice that this selection box looks a little bit different to normal programs. The handle in the middle allows you to move. The handle at the side will flip it one direction, and the handle at the top will flip it the other direction. This means that if you make a copy, which is the one at the bottom, then you can flip it and you can get symmetry very easily. Okay, so we can start to connect these things together. Now, as you would expect with this sort of drawing, accuracy is really important, because if a laser is going to cut through here, this little overlap here is going to be a big problem for us. There's a number of ways we can deal with that. We can move them around until they're focused and we've got them in the right place, or in fact we can pick up a line and we can start an edit, and we can actually edit that point. And this is the advantage of using vector tools to position objects. And you can see that there's still a little gap there. We need to zoom in, and then we can get a closer look. And again, start edit, and if we switch this on, we should be able to pick that up and attach it to the end, no problem. Switch that off again, end the edit, and we should have those connected together. Absolutely superb. So what we need to do is draw a simple shape. Now if we're going to draw a shape to cut out, we need to make sure that the shape is closed. If the shape is open and we're cutting it from a piece of material like this, then it's still going to be attached to the material at the bottom. So to make this shape work, I'm going to have to connect together those two bottom dots. Oh, missed it. Let's pick that up. Start the edit. We've got that tool selected. Pick that up if I can. There we go. And put it there and let go. Okay, and edit. Alright, so now I've closed that shape. You can see that this closed shape can now be cut out from a piece of material. If I wanted to have two kinds of lines, one which is cut straight through the material and one which is maybe engraved in the material but not as deep, then I could then draw, let's switch that locator off, I could then draw and change the colour of this line change the colour of this second line so that we can tell the computer that colour indicates that we are going to do something different with it. So we can pick one of these other colours. So now when we cut this, or we send this to the cutter, we can say we want you, black line, to cut all the way through with these settings on the tool, and we want you, red line, to use a different tool or different setting so that the machine will change what it's doing so that this can be engraved on the surface and not cut all the way through. Alright, using these basic tools we can draw some nice intricate drawings, remembering that this is our scale. If we want to check sizes, we've got a dimension tool here, and we can start checking dimensions between lines. And we have some other options here in terms of alignment, drawing points, writing text. We can also import bitmaps, so we can import an image and we can vectorize it later on, and that means to turn it into these lines that we can cut out, which you can also play around with. There's all sorts of ways we can start to make digital drawings that are interesting in this software that we can have a go at cutting and see what happens. I'm going to leave you with that information, and hopefully that will help you start off a decent drawing that you want to have cut out. Just have a think that if you're cutting something out, you might want to think about how that object might stand up in the end. So we might want to think about how we could draw another shape that goes with the first shape, that we can have an extra slot in, and we can use that to cut out and to slot together. You can imagine in a cross shape. Okay, so you might want to think about how this object might stand up and drawing two parts rather than one. Okay, I'll leave you to it and see how we do. Excellent.